This is a space for collaborative leaders who are done choosing between people and performance. They're ready to build healthier cultures, lead with emotional resilience, and redefine what sustainable leadership looks like in the real world.
Welcome to the Shine Leadership Advantage, where we explore how women can leverage their personal growth to build happy, healthy, and high-performing cultures without the burnout. I'm your host, Jennifer Cavender, executive coach and consultant, and as someone who spent 20 years as a CPA, motivated by other people's desires for me, I'm now passionate about showing leaders how to leverage joy for better results and less stress. In partnering with Debbie Predator, the founder of the Be Extraordinary Women's Network and the creator of the Shine Framework, I discovered that the Shine principles and the importance of professional growth are so foundational to my own leadership coaching and the principles that I share with my clients and their success. If you're new here, be sure to go back and listen to episode 0, where I interviewed Debbie about why this conversation is so important now and why she asked me to host it. So today I'm here with Meagan Hopper, who will be talking to us about leading with humanity in high stress industries. Meagan is a leadership consultant, a professional speaker, and the founder of HiVis Hoodies. She has nearly 20 years of experience in design and construction industry, including a decade of leading teams at Walt Disney. And she specializes in human-centered leadership and burnout prevention. She's the author of Unlocking the Why, and as a certified project manager professional, a well-accredited professional, and a certified health and wellness coach, she helps professionals in high-stakes environments integrate mindfulness for better results and less burnout. So welcome to the stage, Meagan.
Thank you. Hello. So happy to be here.
Hi. So excited to speak with you today. I've been reading your book. And so why don't you just start with giving us your 2-minute version of how you ended up doing what you're doing now in this leadership and coaching world.
Oh, what a journey. From a girl in a town in Jersey with more cows than people to Disneyland and running mindfulness and into leadership integrations. So yeah, I started in construction, which I don't know that we've even mentioned. So not the easiest thing to start with for sure, and definitely not a place where mindfulness exists. Construction is all about get it done quick, get it done cheap, do your job, keep your mouth shut. And it's certainly not the epitome of the place that you think of when you think of inclusion and kindness and making people feel comfortable. We had that on one side. Well, on the other side, I was doing alternative health and wellness and focusing on homeopathic remedies and Reiki and cacao. And at one point, I realized that alternative health and wellness aspect, the part that I was really getting people to focus on themselves and on who they were. And I mean, kind of to quote Debbie, giving them permission to be themselves was exactly what was missing from the construction industry. And then furthering that, missing from everywhere, where stress is so high that you can't see past the next thing that you need to do. So figured out a way to bring them together, make it work, and help people live better, fuller lives all over, in every aspect, not just their workplace at this point.
Wow. I love your story and your background because there's such a dichotomy in it.
Oh, yeah.
And so what was that moment, or was it several moments maybe, where you realized there's something that I would love to bring to these people, this community, this type of workplace, that actually isn't existing, or I'm not seeing it as much as I'd love to. What was there something that made you realize that, or was it a series that your experience?
Yeah, there's definitely a series, just like when you start to burn out, it doesn't hit you at once. It hits you in small moments until all of a sudden you have no choice but to back off. It There were little things, where I would feel awkward in a conversation or somebody would make a comment that wasn't great, or just with my health in general. I've been kind of dealing with the medical hamster wheel since I was really little, always having problems with breathing and coughing and consistent bronchitis. So for me, finding homeopathic remedies, finding alternative health really helped expand the potential of what was out there. And then bringing that into the work site, seeing how the status quo was, but then because I like to poke at things and dig at things and break systems in order to rebuild them better, seeing, okay, how can I reframe this? How can I rework this that it can actually help people produce instead of just making them get the task done? This way it's fun, it's something more. And I think the big one, there's a thing called a double concussion. Who knew? So yeah, I don't do anything small. I was on the NJ Transit train commuting into the city for work and had a panic attack, I guess, while waiting for the doors to open. Fell, slammed my head on one side of the wall, fell down to the floor, slammed my head on the floor, came to, and everyone had walked over my body to get off the train. Yeah. So that was kind of a big like, oh, wow. Okay. We are doing too much. We are asking for too much. This is not okay. This needs to stop. Very shortly after that, I got the call from Disney, ended up in California. And I was like, you know, this is a chance to reset. Like, I don't have to go into this with the same framework. And by making the changes myself and then in how I was leading people versus what I was seeing before that, I noticed a difference in the people that I was leading, as well as my work products and what I was capable of doing outside of work because I wasn't burned out all the time.
Mm. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it's so good because, first of all, you talk about leading with humanity,
Yes.
right? And what more, better experience to have you realize that you you need to realize you're human and nurture yourself a bit. One of the Friday principles.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about why you lead, what that means to you, like leading with humanity.
Yeah, thank you. That's a gross generalization. A lot of people are still promoted into positions of leadership having no idea what that even means. And very often it's because we're promoting high producers, not leaders. So, and we're not giving them the tools to lead either. We're like, oh, well, you were able to make the most money on this team. So we want you to teach other people how to do that. You don't necessarily teach them by doing it yourself and hoping that they catch on. Don't teach them by beating them with a stick. And furthermore, a lot of people are going to have a different way of getting to their most productive point. So if you're telling this high producer you want them to form a little army of robots, you're forgetting everything that all of those other people had to offer that was the reason you hired them in the first place.
Yes. So it's really about the individuals, not about just producing, right? And that's such a hot topic, productivity these days, right? We all want time management, we want productivity, we want people to do more with less.
We want to
But
beat AI.
yes. Yes. And now that we realize there is this technology that can be productive, and then we're seeing like, oh, but there is a lack of humanity
Oh, yeah.
in that productivity. And the other thing that you talk about is high stakes environments. So you're really passionate about this specific type of culture. because number one, you came from a couple of different high stakes cultures, right? Like I imagine construction, being like safety and, very high dollar amounts running through the business is considered high stakes. And then a large conglomerate like organization like Disney, they're putting a lot of investment in their people as well as the projects, right? So both high stakes environments, but very different. So tell me why this is like such a culture that you're passionate about and why what you do helps them.
So, I mean, going back to construction, I started in construction in New York City. You're talking about like the worst of the worst when it comes to stressful conditions, and doing a $500 million pyramid on the West Side Highway that was super high profile, the most stringent environmental program that could be created. Like we created one for it. We didn't take a sustainability program that existed. The curtain wall system was coming from 3 different countries. We had an architect who is absolutely famous, and it was his first building in the city. Like we said, how many more challenges can we add? Let's do it. And it was a fantastic project. The company that I worked for was at that point one of the best. Like when it all came to fruition and I slammed my head and all of that happened, they had my back. But it is so high stakes in construction, especially, New York. You have a client who is projecting how much money they're making back and assuming how much they can spend based on the ROIs, return on investment, for anybody who doesn't know, which is it in most industries, but in construction and in an entertainment industry, in hospitality, you're basing that on an opening date when somebody can come in and pay you to receive the service, use your space, whatever it is. So every day that you don't turn that over is money they're losing. Every time you need to make a change that's going to cost them more is money they're losing. And with construction in particular, there's just so many moving parts, and it's this game of translating too, because your owner, your architect, your contractor, your electrician, you name it, are all speaking a different language. They have different priorities, and they think that their priority is the priority. And so you're getting dragged as the project manager in 500 directions, trying to make everybody happy all at the same time, while letting go of anything you had going on at home in your personal life. You don't have a personal life anymore. You have a project and all of these little children that have different titles that you need to attend to and keep happy. So it's dragging you from all the directions, but then you also have the actual built environment on top of the office environment. So like, there was one point I got a 2 a.m. call that something was on fire, literally on fire. So, there are life and death situations in that instance where you do need to be able to respond, because a lot of times, and we can kind of just hit me if I start to segue too far, I guess, say something because you're not next to me, but there's this idea in Chinese medicine that your body is a system of meridians. And I look at that as highways. So when the highway is open, it's free flowing, it's great, the traffic moves. But if you have a block, it's like the road got closed, there's damage to it. You can't travel that way. So when there's that much on you at once, you just get all these roadblocks and nothing can move anymore. And if nothing can move, you can't function. So you still have all these inputs coming at you, but you can no longer output in the way that you need to. And so you need to have these like micro tools almost deal with these things in these high stress environments where you can keep going in a way that doesn't detract from you, doesn't create these roadblocks in your system, keeps everything flowing and open. But it's different because you do have that life and death. You really do, where everybody else just feels like they do. They feel like those roadblocks if they get coffee on themselves and they're wearing a white shirt and they have to meet with their boss. Like, that's not really going to be the end of your world. You could tell your boss, oh, yeah, I spilled it. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
They're human. They should get it. Should.
This is really good because a lot of people talk about the importance of this kind of balance and having that focus on the individual and the people and having the people skills and the softer skills. They don't always talk about it in this environment of there's actually, as you say, high stakes in the decisions that I make as a leader or that my team executes. So, how exactly is this? Are you able to consult with organizations to actually do this? Because it seems like a dichotomy. It seems really difficult, but you have methods, right?
Well, and let's be honest, I tend to go for the difficult things in life.
I'm
No
not
one else
gonna
is going to. Well, everyone shies away from it. And I'm like, if everyone shies away from it, nothing changes. So let's the biggest thing is buy-in. That's the biggest
Hmm.
part. And it was coincidental. I was during a workshop at Mindfulness Expo 2 weeks ago in the Anaheim Convention Center. And I did a workshop called Mindfulness in the Trenches. And it's understanding how to read the symptoms of your body when it's about to hit burnout and it starts throwing those check engine lights out, small micro steps to kind of help you come back into your body and avoid those like really anxious moments and get through them in a safe way. And then how to make sure that you're filling your bank appropriately and taking those things out or reframing those things that are draining you. So one of the people that was in there at the end raised their hand and they're like, yeah, but how do we balance it when we are one of those go, go, go people and we are doing more than we're supposed to be doing. And we know we're doing more than supposed to be doing, but we're getting accolades for doing that. We're getting a recognition for doing that, for not taking our vacation, for working 12-hour days. And I said, okay, first thing, this is two-part answer. First thing, are you more concerned with what you think of you or what others think of you? And they had to sit for a minute with that and like, oh, huh. I said, and the next thing, are those 12 hours that you're using, are those vacation days you're working through, are those required? Or if you took that time to actually rest and reset yourself, would you be even more productive in the 8 hours that you're there? If you took those extra 4 hours to rest, to spend time with your kids, to see your family, to do things that make you feel alive,
Mhm.
then when you're there, do you feel like you'd be more productive because you wouldn't be trying to stay awake and talking to people to distract yourself? And for some people, that may not be the answer, but for a lot of people, I find that that seems to be the difference. And I tell all of them, like, okay, well, it's going to take one person being the example. Going to take at least somebody to stand up and do that and show, hey, if you give me back time to reset myself, to restore myself, to recharge, I'm a hell of a lot more productive in those 8 hours. And then when you need me to pull a 12-hour, I am there. I'm not burned out.
Yes. As you're speaking, I'm getting this image because I do this sometimes
Mhm.
of me going to the gas station every day because I don't want to stand there. I don't have time. I'm running to this meeting or that meeting, and I just put enough gas in my car to get to where I need to go. And then every day I have to keep doing that. And I just do a little bit of nourishment, right? Of whatever I need to get me through the next day. But it's not really enough to really show up in my full self, right?
Yeah.
So I would just take some time, fill the gas tank.
Yeah.
Then I could show up more authentically, number one, because I wouldn't just be like trying to check boxes.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I love that. It's so good just to, and I think what Simon Sinek calls these individuals that you're talking about are early adopters. So that's what you look for, right? Is
Yeah.
the adopters that aren't really afraid to try something new and to step outside the box and to say, hey, wait, time out. I think there might be a better way.
Yeah. Well, in my book, I called them the pioneers.
There you go. Well, let's talk about that a little bit because I have started reading your book. It's called Unlocking the Why. Speaking of Simon Sinek, the next step or like almost like a side by side, right, of what Simon talks about. So tell us a little bit about why this book. Why did you write it?
So again, I noticed that people weren't really trying to figure out what it was that was making their direct reports want to come into work. And if you understand what it is that motivates someone, what their why is, I call it, the thing that kind of gets their blood flowing, you can frame anything, absolutely anything, in a way that will motivate them instead of a way that depletes them. So I kind of break it into the builder, the connector, the teacher, the pioneer, and the stabilizer. And each of them have something that is like their linchpin, the thing that they love. So like the builder loves to build things. They like to see progress and results. They like tangible things. They like metrics. They thrive on that feedback and clear, concrete targets. So for someone like that, explaining to them what you need, how it's going to eventually impact the bottom line, and what the date is, how much that you guys want to make from this, whatever the framework is for what that project is. That's what's going to drive them. For a pioneer, you tell them, hey, we want to do this thing that's nobody's ever done, and we're going to give you X amount to do it in X amount of time. And there's not really any parameters, just, new territory, go crazy, come back to us when you've got it. They're going to love that. So there's ways that you can get the same task. You can give the same task to 3 different people, and you can say it in ways that meet their why instead of just, again, going back to that, producer mentality instead of leader mentality, because you're not leading you, you're leading other people. So it's about listening to everything that they're saying, because even if they're not going to come out and tell you specifically, they may not know the words to tell you how they need to hear something, but they do know how to tell you that they love coaching their kids' soccer team. Do you know how to tell you that they love building these crazy inventions in their garage? Like, there are cues.
Yes. Yeah. It's so good because when you start paying attention to language, and even with like NLP, I learned several years ago, just paying attention to the way my children communicate and then communicating more in alignment with their communication style actually helps me in my parenting, right? And to get
Yeah.
folks.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so beautiful. And when I think of these archetypes, you call them archetypes, it really, for me, ties into one of the principles in the Shine framework. So the Shine framework is 5 principles, right? It's self-awareness, healing, trusting your intuition, nourishing yourself, and empowerment and evolving. There's one that keeps coming to mind as I'm reading this book, and that's nourishment. Because when you know what your type is, right, and who you are at your core, then you can actually ask for what you need in the way that you need it. Or as a leader, when you're paying attention to who your people are, you can lead them in the way that is nourishing for them, right?
Yeah.
And I always relate it to being a parent because I have 2 girls and they're both very different, and I could not parent them the same at all, which is the same with leading. And I think this idea of, well, we just, we create a system and this is how we do it. And this is how we tell people to do it. And this is the consequence if you don't do it is,
Yeah.
it's so hard. And then we
It's
wonder, I wonder why are many people not doing what I would love for them to do?
Mhm.
So when you think about the shine framework, is there one of those 5 principles that you sort of see that leaders need the most, or that you sort of recognize out in, the world as you're serving?
Yeah, I'm actually going to pick 2 if that's okay. So, first of all, heal. Like, we all have traumas, and they range depending on what you've experienced, the lens that you've experienced them through. But we all have things that we don't prefer. And being able to sit with those, understand those, learn the lessons from those, and find the gratitude in those, which can
Right.
be absolutely horrifying and terrible and hard and painful sometimes, but it's something we all need to do in order to be able to move past that and be able to use that in a way that can help others. I think that's huge for anyone that is going to be, for lack of a better term, in charge of other people.
Mm.
And then the other one, empower or evolve. Both of those words work perfectly with what I do. That, like I said before, giving people permission to be themselves.
Mhm.
Um, and and we all know how to do this. We just, like you said, we're stuck in this way that we were told that it has to be, in this archaic framework that, it doesn't fit anymore. And you brought it up in episode 0 too, coming back from COVID. COVID shook everything up. We had this huge pandemic that shut everything down, made people stop, reevaluate what the important things are in their lives, and come back from a different perspective. And sometimes that is, using fear. Sometimes that's understanding where that fear is coming from. And if there is something that somebody's afraid of, I always invite everyone, if you're terrified of something and you feel those butterflies, think of them as tiny clapping hands and excitement, and move on, because excitement and fear are 2 sides of the same coin. So just flip that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Actually, that book right there has a story of mine all about that.
Oh, well, okay. I'll be reading that one next. Uh, but yeah, it's the evolution of leadership into human-centric leadership, because the new generations that are coming in are not going to accept what we've been doing. They're not going to accept, you told me to do a thing and I'm going to do it, sure. But if you tell them why, if you explain to them any part of the thought process and what needs to come out of that and how that's going to help with whatever, it's the bottom line, with helping somebody down the road, with whatever it is, that brings them into the fold. It brings them into the conversation. It makes them belong. And humans are social creatures. We are built to want to belong. So that's the easiest way.
And when you think about all of the things that we're dealing with as leaders in our culture of our organizations, in the culture of our country, in what's happening globally, what's happening with technology, what's happening with our families, all of the things that are changing and evolving around us. And then thinking about the leaders that you've worked with and the leadership that you've observed over your experience, what are you seeing is like the deeper issue, like the most important thing that leaders are facing that would really be powerful for them to recognize and to start to shift?
There have been so many leaders that I have worked with and for, that try to put a front on, that try to put on the brave face kind of thing and toe the line even if they don't agree with it. And people can tell if you're not being authentic. They can tell. So just stop. Like, there's ways that you can say something that's still professional and still authentic. Like, you do not need to gaslight something. You don't need to tell somebody a blatant lie. That's how you break trust. And then that's a heck of a lot harder to get back. And you'll never be able to actually lead that person if you've broken that trust. From then on, you are their boss, and that's the best that you're ever going to get. And I guess I should explain that. I work with a framework of leader is the highest form that you can be, then manager, then boss. Boss is, yep, you give somebody tasks. Manager is you're there, you support them, but like that's kind of it. Leader is you're in it with them and they know that and they accept that and respect that and you work together. That's just my framework. But
Yeah, that's so perfect because the reason that Debbie and I in particular really connected on her framework is that the leaders that am coaching really don't always recognize that their own personal leadership is first and foremost important.
Yeah.
And so when you said to realize their own humanity and realize that they don't have to show up as this masked, like cold individual that's not impacted by anything, has never struggled with anything. That's really what I would love for my clients to see and to recognize and to feel that it's so much easier to lead when you can show up real and say, look, guys, this is what I'm struggling with today. And I know that we've got these deadlines on this project. And this is the other thing that I'm bringing into the room. And not that you have to give all the details, but let people know that you're human, as you say, and that you struggle too, because then they can go, oh, you know what? I was there last week.
Yeah.
And it gives them a little bit of permission to accept their own humanity and not have to feel like they need to burn themselves out.
And it helps build that trust too, because then they get to know you, like the actual you. So they feel more comfortable having those hard conversations, because there are going to be hard conversations. But if you've built the trust, if you've built the psychological safety, if they understand that you're in it with them, you want the best for them, and it's a mutual respect. Like I tell everyone, this is two-way feedback. I don't improve if you don't tell me what you think as well. It's very much about leading by example. If you want them to be the best version of them and you actually care, then you need to care about you.
Yeah. And how heavy is it to show up every day as someone else or pretending to be something you're not, right? Talk about contributing to burnout. Just in letting that go is huge for stepping into a less than burnt out role.
Oh, yeah. The energy it requires to keep up a facade and remember all the things that you've told somebody.
Yeah. Awesome. I love this conversation so much. I have to take a deep breath and just kind of breathe it in. So what do you think leaders can do? What's one small shift that they can make? Because sometimes we know all of these things and we hear these things and are like, yes, 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 I agree. I know that this is a better way. And it feels a little overwhelming at first. What would be one small shift, like the first step to making this kind of change or to seeing yourself differently or having a different perspective that leaders can do to just start this process?
I mean, there's so many places to start. And again, it kind of goes back to the individual on what they feel most comfortable with, what they feel most aligned with. Because, for me, I do breathwork facilitation and sound baths and cacao and meditations. And it's so easy to say well, do some box breathing. But if you feel like that's really woo-woo and, not in your domain, you're too cool for that, whatever, then maybe a priority matrix is where you start. Or maybe, kind of like you were saying before, you only put a little bit of gas in your system. Write down every single thing that you do every day, like the standard things that you have to do, commuting to work, getting coffee, answering emails, whatever. And put next to them a green mark or a red mark. And anywhere that you have those red marks, you try to figure out a way to update those. So if your drive to work is absolutely awful and you hate it and it is one of the worst parts of your day, so that you are showing up to work already drained because you have had to deal with anxiety and idiots on the road who don't use their directionals, but you love listening to audiobooks or whale sounds or watching your kids dance videos. I don't know. Insert whatever thing makes you happy here. Then maybe that's what you listen to on the way to work, and it makes it a little bit better. It's not going to fix it entirely. Or maybe there's a rideshare option you can use a couple times a week, or, like these smaller changes that you can make adjustments to. But by all means, if you want to go full breath work, cacao, total wellness side, like I'm here for that too, all day.
I mean, the military uses box breathing, so, it shouldn't be
Right.
too Thank you, Meagan, so much for sharing just a little bit of your genius with us today. It's so powerful and good. Share with us, is there anything else you want to share with the audience? I know that you have the assessment that goes along with the book that you just published. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, there's an assessment in there, or that you can purchase through my website. And if you use the code SHINE, SHINE, all caps, you get 10% off just because you listen. And we want to give you tools to succeed. Yay. But, there's tips and tricks in the book to try to figure out what your why is. But the assessment goes a couple steps deeper in terms of really giving you the actual answers to what you are aligned to right now. Because yes, that can change as your priorities change and your life changes and your environment changes, but it'll give you tips in how people should talk to you so that you can coach up to your leaders and share that with your family, as well as how you best talk to other people and where your blind spots might be, because those are always looming.
They are, and I absolutely love assessments. I'm obsessed. I take all that I can possibly take. But your book in particular does go into this shadow version of yourself, which is like when maybe your strengths are overused, or when you are in that stress level, what comes out as this archetype. And that's one of the things I love about what you did in creating this. So thank you so much for doing that for our audience and for coming today. It was so beautiful to chat with you.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm sorry we went on some tangents there, but every good journey has side quests.
Absolutely. They're all meant to be. Oh, well, if you loved this conversation and it resonated with you, please connect with Meagan. You can find her on LinkedIn. We have links in the show notes. You can grab your 10% off of her assessment on her website. You can grab her book that was just published. There's lots of ways that you can connect with her. And if you desire to be a part of a thriving community that will hold you accountable for the kinds of work that is foundational to your professional success, the kinds of things that we talked about here today with Meagan, the Spine Circle, created by Debbie, is such a beautiful place for women to do that. And so you can find a link to explore that circle in the show notes as well. Because the bottom line is, guys, thriving cultures don't start with better perks and policies. They start with leaders who are willing to heal, grow, and lead from a place of wholeness and joy. And that is the Shine Leadership Advantage. Thank you for showing up, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.